Hi everyone, welcome. Today is July 14th, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, doing our regular weekly Q&A, taking your general immigration, education-based immigration questions, not individual legal guidance, but just general education on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, and everywhere else, so that you guys can get some, understanding what's going on in the U.S. immigration system. So we're going to start taking your questions as people start to trickle in. We usually get a lot. There's so many. I try to talk really fast so I can get to all of them. But more and more people are telling me I'm talking way too fast, so I'll try to slow it down, which means I may not be able to get to everybody. I'll get to almost everybody, but not everybody. If you want to continue talking, just schedule a consultation or come back next week. I also do a free video consultation, or 3 of them, for people who are watching. They like, subscribe, and comment that they would like a free consultation. My assistant chooses 3 people, every person every 10 minutes, and we do free video consultation for 15 minutes. This is just for the people watching live. So that's something I want to give a heads up on. And if you're interested in a marriage green card case, download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. It'll definitely help you on your way. It's better than anything else that's out there. You'll really love it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about before taking the questions that are coming in is something that's very important that came to my attention yesterday. Because of the public profile I have and all the videos and clips and images that I do, there's a lot of content with my face on it, and I have some notoriety on the internet. And one thing that happens over the years every once in a while is someone acts like they're me with my image or my name or my website or various different things to try to get different things from people. The recent one is someone claimed to be me and that they could solve the immigration problems if they pay them a large sum. And it's come to my attention, potentially some people have been contacted by this kind of person using my image but a different name. But it's always different kinds of fraud and scams that happens. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about it when the person's overseas and I can't get a hold of him, and there's not much I can do other than just letting you know, as an immigration attorney, if you're going to hire my office, if you're going to hire my office, I always do a video consultation with every client, unless rarely the client can't get the video part set up. And I always try to make the video available for myself on Zoom particularly, so you see me. And that way, because I want to have a direct relationship with my clients, I want to see how they look. So everyone who works in my office, again, unless they're in some sort of very rare circumstances where they can't turn on their video, they're always going to see me. And so you'll know it's me if I'm going to be handling your case. So if someone claims to be me or use an image of me and wants money in a contract, but you don't actually see them, know that this is not really me, because we're always going to have a video consultation. You can expect that with me and my law firm. So that's a really important thing to avoid this kind of fraud from happening, to expect it to be working with me directly and talking with me and viewing me. That's an important factor to avoid this kind of fraud from happening. So with that unfortunate news, let's get the program started. I got a green card and I want to buy a rifle and go hunting. Thoughts from an immigration perspective? This is an important question that comes up a lot, actually. And the laws of this are very unknown to a certain point. Even the Supreme Court acknowledges that the laws are unknown. The only people who could have arms, guns, that's just for the sake of ease of it, in the United States are U.S. citizens, green card holders, and very, very, very few non-immigrants who get special permission from the Department of Justice and U.S. government. For example, if you're a person that's in the Olympics, you practice shooting, which is one of the games in the Olympics, and you're coming here for testing or practice training, you get a special permit for that. But everyone else, whether you're here without permission or you're here on a student visa, tourist visa, or some other thing, are not permitted to have a firearm. It's in the federal regulations. It's banned. However, the way the wording is in the federal regulations, if you didn't know it was against the rules that you cannot have a gun, then it's okay. It won't be held against you. But if you knew, then it's illegal against you because of the way the wording of the statute and regulation in this regard. And this is something the Supreme Court has several times, especially maybe 6 months ago or a year ago, reiterated that this is the case. So for those that are watching have guns, now you know you can't have these weapons, give them away, or whatever the legal way to do it is to someone else or whatever it is. I don't know what that is exactly. But when you ask the question here, when a green card holder wants to buy a gun, then that is legal unless you have some sort of state regulations or you have criminal history, whatever that is. But from an immigration perspective, a green card holder can have a weapon, but a person who's not a green card holder citizen, except those rare exceptions, has to not touch a gun, not even go to a shooting range, has to completely stay away from the gun or the use of the gun, or it's an immigration violation and criminal violations if they're aware of it. All right, thanks so much for that question though. Prati asks, hi John, could I participate for a diversity visa lottery on F1 visa? Will it affect future non-immigrant visas? Okay, so the diversity visa lottery is the lottery system that we have, that the U.S. has. It gives up to 50,000 immigrant visas leading to green cards every year. Most of the time, no more than 30,000 people actually get the green card. But anyone can apply if their country is open to it. So if you're a country, you're born in a country that has a lot of immigration in the United States, you can't participate. But for those that have lower numbers, they can do it, and you could apply for it on the F1 visa as well. Now, I think the worry that Pradihemash has is that if you do an act that shows you have the intent to live here, to get a green card is one of those. So maybe potentially applying for the green card lottery means you're trying to live in the United States, and that may mess up your chances of getting a future non-immigrant visa, temporary visa. So if you want to apply for a tourist visa and they say, well, you apply for the green card lottery, that means you actually want to stay in the US, you're not going to go as a tourist. Is that fear there? What we've seen in the past is if you had a family or employment-based case started, yeah, that could affect future non-immigrant temporary visas, like a student visa or a tourist visa. But applying for the diversity visa lottery, I have not seen that myself considered an actual petition or activation, and I haven't seen it become a problem for applying at the embassy or getting a visa and having a thing called immigrant intent. So for that question, I haven't seen it as a worry, and I do recommend most of my clients who potentially may want to move to the United States to always every year apply for the diversity visa green card lottery. Now, there's no fees for the initial application. If you type it in Google, there'll be a lot of websites that say, pay us, we'll do it for you, this and that. It's not required, but you gotta be very safe and sure of what you're filling out in the application. So in the green card lottery, if you have a typo in your name, your date of birth, that could easily lead to an automatic denial. If you don't list all your children and try to list stepchildren and biological children, adopted children, all of them, if you don't list all that information, that could lead to a denial. And a year or two ago, they updated the rules where you have to have a valid password at the time that you file. So if you don't have a password at the time that you're submitting for a green card lottery, that's not going to work. So it gets more and more complex. This is a thing that was created so that people could do it on their own without a lawyer. But as all things immigration, it always gets more and more and more complicated to a certain point that it's recommended to always have a lawyer. But most people do not hire a lawyer for the diversity visa application process. Just be careful when filling it out and make sure you don't have some wild errors in there. Inked Up asks, is the vaccine required to leave country at this point? So US itself has no immigration requirements related to the COVID-19 vaccines. I can't say what the requirements for other countries are if you're going to go visit there or leave there. But the United States itself has no requirement to get a vaccine. Now, if you are come to the United States, you may need a test. You may need to show a clear test within a certain amount of time. So you gotta study up and we'll see what that is if you're gonna be traveling. But the vaccination is not a requirement for the medical checkup for immigration, for travel to and from the United States. It has no part in the processing of any immigration related situations anywhere in the world for US. I don't know about other countries, but the US does not jump on that or have a situation with that. Namgala asks, I'm a green carder. May I adopt my sister's children here? My sister's husband is deceased, dead. If yes, what else need to document? Well, the adoption process for immigration is extremely complicated. Adoption itself varies depending on what country you're from and what rules they have set up for adoption. And in some countries, if one parent is alive, for example, you cannot adopt them. So you need to get an adoption attorney to figure out what the rules are in that country where they're at. But secondly, for immigration purposes, the adoption has to be completed before the age of 16 years old for the children, I believe. Now, I don't handle adoption immigration, but suffice to say, timing is very important. It's very complex. Some countries have very difficult laws on it. So if you want to get started, you have to start it soon. But I don't know if it's going to be possible. And you're asking what documents do I need? This is just a way too complex situation to be able to answer here. You 100% need to have legal guidance and have the help of one or two attorneys, maybe an adoption attorney and an immigration attorney, to see if it's possible, both of them working together. So suffice to say, it's not going to be inexpensive, but you will definitely need to get individual guidance on that one. Unfortunately, I can't say much more than that here. Does it look bad if we file taxes married but filing separately when we renew the green card? Yeah, I had a consultation 2 hours ago about this situation where a lot of couples in the US do this. They file their taxes married but filing separately, because if they combine their income, married and filing jointly, the student loans repayment that one of the spouses has to do will all of a sudden go up, because student loan repayment many times is tied to the amount of income you make, like 10% of your income. So if they get married, the income level goes up and the repayment amount for the loan goes up. So a lot of people do marriage filing separately. You know, at the end of the day, you have to do what's proper for you and your family. The USCIS wants you to do it marriage filing jointly. Many officers will really make a big deal about this. But you know, you have to overcome that by showing a bunch of other documents that show that you are a couple to overcome it. If you make the decision financially, which is not a bad decision, to doing marriage filing separately. So I don't like it. I prefer people don't do that. But at the same time, I don't want people to pay a bunch of money they can't afford either. So what you need to do is see what's best for your family. And if you're not able to join your taxes, you need to document as much as possible other aspects of your joint relationship to overcome any hesitation, overcome any disbelief the USCIS and the immigration authorities have about your case. And so that's a long-winded answer to say you can, but be careful and document it as much as you can. All right, Mohammed asks, hi, I just finished our marriage green card interview. It went smooth, but it's been 10 days. The status says my case must be reviewed. Is it bad or something? What should I do? Mohammed, sometimes it just takes a while to make a determination. It could be a lot of different reasons. It could be the computer's broken and not working even. So what you need to do is wait. I usually wait 30 days and send a letter to the officer asking if I can be more help, and usually it's done by that time. If it starts going more than 30, 60, 90 days, then it's going in a bad direction. The interview may not have gone as smooth as you thought it did. But at this point, I normally just wait. But I don't know the details of your case. I'm not sure if there's some sort of legal error that comes up later that you weren't aware of. So I can't for sure say what you should do with your site, but with your case. But generally, you know, it's all general legal education here. It's not case specific. 10 days is not the worst, but it's annoying. I wish it wasn't like that. Sammy asks, how long is the wait time after you submit Form N14 when you gave you on N400 interview? So Form N14 is a request for evidence, essentially. So when you do a citizenship or naturalization interview, Form N400, and after the interview, they ask for more documents. The form is called N14 that they send to you. The questioner is asking how long to wait after you submit it. There is no minimum or maximum wait necessarily. It's however long it takes them. Legally, after 120 days after the interview, you can't sue the USCIS for delaying a decision, but suing them doesn't mean it's going to get approved. We just have to see what's going on. Yeah, when it comes to any wait, you know, most of the time there's no real answer. It's just whenever they get around to it, other than the fact that if you want to sue them after 120 days, you have that option. But if you don't sue them, you know, you keep waiting if they're going to take that long. Well, thank you for your question, Sammy. Nanda asks, how long does it take to process an I-119F? I think you mean an I-129F. I-129F is the petition you submit for a fiancé visa when a U.S. citizen, not a green card, only a U.S. citizen could use a fiancé visa, or a spouse of a fiancé visa could be. They submit that. That is very similar to Form I-130 and is taking between 6, 8, 10 months on average. But I have some get done sooner, I have some get done later. One thing for people who ask these kind of questions, I post my approval notices on Instagram for JQK Law Firm Instagram page. And so if you want to see my recent timelines, I do post them there. I think I posted one for a fiancé visa. Let me go on Instagram right now, instagram.com/JQK Law Firm. And that fiancé visa was approved, let's see, fiancé visa 8.5 months. So this couple, well, the U.S. citizen, lives in Kansas. We started his fiancé visa 8.5 months later. The petition was approved, the Form I-129F, and now we're waiting for the embassy portion to start. But unfortunately, the country they're going to be processing their cases in, the embassy is not doing interviews. So it's probably going to be a long time for they actually move it forward. But for that specific part, the I-129F, the first step in a fiancé visa case, 8 months is the average, 8 to 9 months, sometimes 10 months, sometimes 6 months. It could go faster, it could go longer, but that's a general picture. But you just never know, each case is so different. But thank you for your question, Nanda. What's the way to get a driver's permit with pending I-485 K1 visa? Unfortunately, most states you can't, because when you want to get a driver's license, you need to have a valid EAD, employment authorization document, or a work permit. And without that, they won't. And some states will say if you don't have status, we'll issue green cards. I'm sorry, not green cards, will issue driver's licenses, but they may or may not do that with a person who actually has pending status. So if you just contact your local DMV or go to their website and see what the rules are. The official rules are you need to get the work permit, but some states allow exceptions to that. You have to see what works for you, but most likely you're out of luck. And this is one of the major reasons that I don't, like fiancé visas, because if you came in with a marriage green card, and not every case is appropriate to be married first, but if you came in with the marriage green card, as soon as you arrive, hopefully if the post office doesn't lose it, you'd get a green card and you get your work permit, it is a work permit, so that's right there. And then you go to the post office, you go to the DMV and you get your driver's license, and that's done. But with the fiancé visa, you enter, you get married, then you have to wait 8-10 months to get a work permit and then get a driver's license. You don't have work permission during that whole time. You can't travel internationally. It's very disruptive. So the K1 visa, unfortunately, is very rarely the proper way to do a marriage visa kind of case. But it is what it is. Sometimes you have to. Thank you for your question, Haji. I appreciate it. Misty asks, if you worked on your spouse's business but never registered as an employee, is it employment, unemployed? Technically, if you work in a job that someone can be hired for, it is employment. And so for immigration purposes, if you don't have permission, that could be a violation. Now, what happens for unemployment or insurance, all that kind of stuff, I don't handle that. I just focus on U.S. immigration. But I tell people, if you do a job essentially that a U.S. person could have done, then that's a violation. Now, whether that's going to be a problem for your case or not, depends on what kind of case you have. But it seems like if you were actually working there, you were employed for immigration purposes, and that could be a violation. The rest, employment law and unemployment insurance, I don't have an answer for that. I'm not that kind of lawyer. I've hired a fresh graduate lawyer for my asylum case. He told me that he had never appeared in front of an immigration officer. Should I be concerned about his qualifications? He wrote a 3-page brief. I don't know if, the money is an issue. If only you could take a new lawyer than his new lawyer. You just want to make sure they're doing their research. They're talking with other lawyers that have mentors. I don't handle asylum cases, so I don't even want to make a comment on that. You just want to see they're dedicated, see their work, they go into the details. It's going to be hard for you to analyze what's needed because the standards for asylum law are very specific and sometimes very vague. So yeah, it's going to be hard for you to know. But if that's the only person you can hire, that's the only person you hire. Hopefully they're dedicated, they're doing the research, they're writing well, see what they wrote. Make sure you're prepared to be able to explain what your asylum case is on, what the nexus is between the state, and that goes into a little more legal jargon. But just make sure you do it right. Sometimes you got to hire. I worked for a firm for 2 years before I started my own practice, so I had more experience. So people hiring me originally were hiring my boss, and I was doing the work, but he was there to guide. The key is that this person just have some mentors and people you could talk to, and if it's a guy, yeah. That's the best way to tell, but I don't really want to talk negatively of someone who's trying hard to get it going. They may be great. Sometimes you hire a lawyer, and this is just off topic, but sometimes you hire a lawyer who's been for 40 years, and they're too busy or they're so burned out from being an immigration attorney, they'll suck and do a terrible case. There's people that are really famous asylum attorneys, and all they do is they have the same case, they change the person's name and submit the same thing to save time and save money for themselves. And they ruin people's lives. So it's not to say that a person's new, they might be more hungry and more dedicated. So it's very hard to judge really who's going to be a good attorney, who's not. There's this one investor I would read back in the day, and his dad was, back in like 1950, like a top surgeon in all of Switzerland. And his dad would always say, if I ever get sick, don't take me to the hospital. Because I know, depending on how that doctor's doing that day, if they got their sleep or not, if they're fighting with their wife, if they had their coffee, they're either going to be a good doctor or not, regardless of what the reputation is. I mean, it goes to me, it doesn't really go to me, I would say, because I work hard at everyone, but it's human nature. It's just, if you're hiring a driver, you might have a driver who's always the best driver driving you around, and one day they're tired, they fall asleep on the wheel and gets a car accident. So it's hard to judge and say who's better, who's not. Experience is, you want to have that. But if this is the person you hired and with your situation is the best person you can hire, then it is. Just hopefully they'll do a good job and pay attention and get the mentorship and guidance that they need. But yeah, thanks for the question, Peace for All. It's the long answer I gave you. God bless. 29 Citrusy follows up. If one is waiting on an immigrant visa, can they visit the U.S. if they have a B1, B2 visitor visa? My thinking might be no, correct? Well, technically you can. Immigration lawyers will always tell you not to do this. That's a standard answer to give. But I've had so many clients, because what can happen is once you try to enter the United States at the airport, They may say, oh, you have a green card case pending, you're really coming here to stay, and they might kick you out of the US and deport you or something like that, or give you voluntary withdrawal. So it gets kind of scary. So the answer immigration is always supposed to give is don't do it, but I've had dozens of clients over the years who didn't listen to me, and they came and they did not have any issues. So I've kind of made it more nuanced, as I prefer you don't, but because even in your case, you might have an employment-based kind of case, and you come in on a tourist visa, they might accuse you of coming on a tourist visa with the actual intent to work, where you're not supposed to do that yet until the immigrant visa is issued. So I don't like it. I prefer not to, because we never know what kind of officers you're going to deal with at the airport when you're entering, and whether they're going to be difficult or not. And I don't want bad things to happen. But for the most part, I've seen people to be able to do this successfully. It's just, if you talk to the immigration areas, the first thing they say is no, which is not a bad answer, but I like to just give that you know, the full perspective of it. That it's better not to, usually it's okay, but there's risks involved, so it's a risk you're taking on when doing that. Thank you for your question, 29 Super C. Marley 818 asks, JQK, Jake just, Jake, thank you, Bryce. I just received my biometrics notice from Marley, you're writing it off, from since July 4th. I've been waiting for 12 months. Wow. So you see this question, biometrics notice, 12 months just came. I've never had a case myself take that long, but it's not really about me submitting the case or something. Sometimes these cases just take a while. 12 months for biometrics is insane. They are starting to come a little faster. I'm getting in more close to 5 months now. You know, for most of my career, it will take a month or two to come. But I'm sorry to hear that, Marlon. That's wild. Taking 12 months to get a biometrics notice. Awful. Well, thank you for sharing that, though. TikTok fam asks, do we need to send a W-2 or a tax return for EB-3 skilled? So the EB-3 skilled worker is a case where employment-based, they're applying for your green card for work. For adjustment of status, unless you are co-owner of the company, or you're related to that owner of the company in some way, you don't need to submit an affidavit of support from I-864. And it's the affidavit of support from I-864 that shows that requires a W-2 or a tax return. But for EB-3, if you've been living here working for the company, for example, you might have had an H-1B visa, probably not if you're doing EB-3, or maybe, you may need to show that you've been continuously working and not falling out of status. So they may ask for continuous pay stubs for a certain period of time. They may or may not, to show that no, you haven't continuously worked for the company. It's not that you violated one of your previous visas and all that kind of stuff. But typically an EB-3 will not need a W-2 or a tax return. Thank you everyone for joining in this episode. We'll be back again next Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, taking your questions and giving out free consultations. I'm John Khosravi. If you want to schedule a regular consultation, email me at info@jqqlaw.com and briefly to explain the immigration issue that you have, so I know what kind of case it is. And I have a lot of different social media pages on Instagram, for example. We have a lot of photos of approval notices, so you can get an idea of timelines, along with short clips of the information. Definitely take a look there. Thank you everyone. God bless. Be safe. See y'all next week. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this educational video. We have a second channel with much more information as well at JQK Immigration Clips. Please check that out. Also, you'll find our social media site has a lot more videos, images, and information about the U.S. immigration process. Please check those out on the various social media websites.